right. Welcome to Tuesday, everybody. How's everybody doing? First of all, I wanted to just check in, see how everybody's doing. My life has been a little bit crazy lately. Not a lot of, sometimes in life, the wind is just at your back. Just it's like downhill and everything's going great. Well, that doesn't happen all the time, does it? So, that's kind of been what's the situation has been with me lately. And it's been a little rough, but, that's life. Like I've shared in other episodes, the only people without problems are in a cemetery. And so if we're alive, we get to have problems. So I want to welcome and thank you all for joining in. Just say hello. Anything that's on your mind, share it. Anything that you've been struggling with, dealing with that you want to talk about, I would encourage that very much because I have an idea of what I want to share, but if it doesn't hit home, if it's not relevant, then what's the point, So, so what I wanted to do is check in with everybody, see how everybody's doing. And then, I wanted to do what's called a happiness audit. So I've done, energy audit before, and that was where you kind of categorize things in your life that give you energy, that give you life, and the things that drain you and take energy and take life. And so what I wanted to do with the energy audit the happiness audit is the same kind of thing. Cause here's the thing right now on a scale of 0 to 10, how happy are you with your life? Just in general, scale of 0 to 10, how happy are you with your life right now? Because whatever that number is, say it's a 6, say it's a 7, say it's a 2, say it's a 3, say it's whatever. Hey Kyle, welcome. Great to have you. And everybody else, hello, welcome. We're doing a happiness audit. On a scale of 0 to 10, how happy are you right now with your life? Hey Mel, great to have you. Hello there. What I want to do with that is just to think about it. Cause if things are going really well in your life, it's because of a certain amount of things that it can only be a few amount of things that are going really well. And if things are going really poorly in your life, like say on a scale of 0 to 10, you give your overall quality of life, like happiness, like a 2 or a 3 or a 4. It can only be a couple of things that are really dragging you down. And the problem is when you start combining the different things that are kind of bringing you down and you kind of try to tackle everything all at the same time, it becomes overwhelming. Anxiety comes, depression, hopelessness creeps in. And, hey, what's up, Luke? A10 when I want, appreciate it. Oh man. Yeah, I love this. Thank you guys so much for the comment. So, Luke, that's very generous of you. Very kind. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. And then Mel, yeah, so I think there's something to be said about when we hang out with kids. Like really, really innocent little kids. Like it's so inspiring. And I just think it's so underrated. There's so much life. There's so much vitality and innocence. And I have yet to meet the kid who's jaded by life, right? It's us adults who get jaded because of all the craziness that happens. But, I appreciate those responses. That's awesome. Andrew's my little nephew. The dude is so hilarious and so clever and fun and happy until he sees me. We got to work out our beef, but, I kind of found my way around his, he gives me the meanest stink eye look every time I see him. And I don't know why. I can't wait till he talks and I can find out why. But it's been this funny thing that I've been recently able to overcome because, of his appreciation for music. And then what I do is I start beatboxing. And then when I start beatboxing, he warms up immediately. It's hilarious. And that's kind of goes to one of these points here. If things are not going well for you, it can only be a certain amount of things. And I have 6 things written down here. But one of them is relationships. And if you're just not connecting with somebody, perfect example is the fact that he's jealous of your hair. Hilarious. Yeah, that might be. I'll have to pack up some gel and give it to him. But, if you're having friction with somebody like I was having with my little nephew Andrew, it was hilarious. I wish I could just share some of the pictures that I took. I've made a meme out of him. I made a sticker out of him, and when I'm really unhappy with something somebody says in a chat, I will put that mean face Andrew sticker on the chat. Like, it doesn't matter that he's one. Like, it's such a mean mug that it like conveys my point perfectly. But here's the point. Is that like, it was kind of heartbreaking. Like, you know, I love this little guy. He's my youngest sister, Christina's son. And, I was his sponsor for his baptism, right? Well, how do you think that went? Right? And so like, the guy just mean mugs me every time he sees me. And maybe you have somebody like that in your life. Maybe it is a coworker, a family member, a teenager. It could be anybody. But if you don't connect with them and you just don't know why, like it's on you to kind of experiment. Maybe it's just their problem. Maybe they just need to figure out what's going on, and maybe they just have something against you, whatever. But it's on you to kind of like explore and find what interests the other person. It's kind of funny. So I love the self-development realm. I love, motivational content, personal development, all that. And I'm just now starting to read an all-time classic that's been around forever, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's so funny to me that I haven't read this book in so long, but I do almost every single thing that's been in this book up to the halfway point or wherever I am. And one of them is to find the things that other people are engaged with. Find the things that other people are interested in, because the whole world is filled with people who are thinking about who? Themselves, right? And so if you're just another person thinking about yourself all the time, one of the most important parts about your life, your relationships, is going to greatly suffer. But if you can practice and develop the ability to go around life in your communication, in your relationships, and think about the other person, the people that are around you, you will find the quality of your relationships soar. Because it's amazing. So perfect example with my little nephew, Andrew, that Mel so, hilariously brought up. He would just mean mug me. Like, he would be having the time of his life, and I would walk in the room. He's one, by the way. Is he even one? Like, he's like he's like a little baby. And he would just mean mug me. The meanest look you've ever seen on a kid. And I was like, what on earth? So I tried different things, tried different approaches. Nothing really seemed to work. But then all of a sudden I was watching a video of him. The dude loves music. Loves music. He got this little dancing crab that plays like this techno song, and he just like bounces. Like, he puts his hands on his hips and he's just like jamming to the music, right? Well, like, and then you just recently discovered Michael Jackson, by the way, which is, you know, a pivotal moment in this young boy's life. And so all of a sudden I had this idea. I'm like, this dude loves music. Well, I love music too. How can I connect with him via music? And so the next time I saw him, I'm not kidding, same thing happened. I think my sister was holding him, and he just like gives me the scowl, and I just start beatboxing. Okay. I can't beatbox for crap, but there was a definite beat there. And all of a sudden, his sour demeanor starts to warm, and all of a sudden he's smiling and he's bobbing his head. And it's a funny story, but the principle is so perfect for life. We're not automatically going to connect with everybody immediately, right? Whether it's somebody that we've had a relationship with for years, or somebody we're just meeting, or whatever. And so if things aren't going well, like there's this tension, whether it's with a spouse or whether it's with, like I said, a coworker or whatever it is, if it's a relationship with any person on the planet, one of the ways to kind of bridge that gap, whatever that gap may be, is simply to find out what interests them and ask them about it. Be interested about it. Connect with them on that point, like I did with little Andrew about the music. Oh, I appreciate you, Christy. That's awesome. Your comment, by the way, last week was so good, and I totally meant to respond to you more because it was so thoughtful. And so and maybe I'll do that here. Maybe I'll type it in later, but it goes into another point that I have here, and I'm going to try to connect that because it goes into like purpose. And so like, if you're not doing well in life, I started this broadcast by saying, like, on a scale of 0 to 10, what do you give your overall happiness level in your life right now? Like, whatever it is, right? That distance between 10 and that number is going to be room for growth, right? Areas that could improve, right? And there are some things that we don't have control over about that we can't do anything about, right? But a lot of the things in life we do have a lot of control over. And So I just talked about relationships, finding that bridge to connect with people on, because the quality of your life is really kind of connected to the quality of your relationships. And so if you don't have really great relationships in your life, you can't expect to have a really great life. It's just the way it works. And so one of the things is relationships. Another thing is purpose. And I'm reminded by my friend Christy here, who has wanted to do this thing, like a broadcast, like this interview show. And it's just been this constant dream that's been percolating in her soul. And I'm guessing that there's going to be a lot of you that have similar things in your life that it keeps popping up, yeah, I really would like to do that. Yeah, I really should get around to doing that. Whatever it is, it could be anything. With my friend here, Christy, as an example, hers is to do a radio broadcast. But all these things keep standing in the way. But here's the thing about something that if you have a desire to do something and it's for the benefit of others, you think that you would really love to do it and it benefits others, chances are that has been deposited in you by God. I believe personally, and it should not be ignored. This little broadcast is one of those things. It was a big risk, but I just went for it. And I'm well, if I screw up, I screw up. Like I said in my first one, I'm I haven't made a fool of myself in a while. But the point is, a lot of times dissatisfaction in our life can come from this friction, this distance between what we're doing and what we think we should be doing. And that could mean, for as many people that watch this, it's that many different things. It could be each one of us could have 10 things that are kind of keep cropping up in our life, but that we kind of keep pushing away. So I'll ask you right now, what is the thing that you've been putting off that just keeps coming to you? Is it to go back to school? Is it to switch jobs? Is it to try something new? Is it to do a radio show or a TV broadcast? It could be so many different things. But as long as you continue to kind of push that down and push it away, listen, it's not going anywhere. Even if you come to the end of your life and you've successfully pushed it down all the way to the end of your life, in those final moments, what do you think people are thinking about in those final moments? If they're so blessed to have moments to reflect, it's, oh, I wish I would have done such and such. I wish I would have changed this about my life. Don't wait until it's too late to make those adjustments. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it requires developing new skills and abilities that maybe seem alien to you, that you have no even idea where to start. But guess what? If there's something in your heart that you have wanted to do or want to do, unless you're colonizing Mars, chances are there's somebody else who has done it that you can learn from. And that being the case, there's really no excuse for any of us, because and there's no shame. I'm not Christy, that's your, we've been talking about that for a long time. But the point is to just get in motion. One of my favorite quotes is, God can't move a parked car. And a lot of times in life, you just have to try something. I tried something this week and I invested a bunch of money in it and it turned out to be a burning dumpster fire. But guess what? If I wouldn't have tried it, I wouldn't have known the things that I learned from that experience. And I would have potentially gone down the road of my life thinking, oh man, I wish I would have done that, but now I actually did it. I took the chance and I'm no, I know that, if I could go back in time and know what I know now, then I wouldn't do it, but there's just no other way to learn, unfortunately, and, I appreciate it, Christy. I can't wait to see it. It's been such a desire in your heart. I know that you're meant to do it. And so just push through those things. Here's a great piece of advice for anybody that's trying something new or that's causing any sort of change in their life. Start with what you can do. Don't even think about the things that you can't do or the barriers that stand between what you want to do and what your goal is, whatever that may be. Don't worry about that. Start with what you can do, because what you can do is often so numerous. And then you start to get in to do the things that you can do. You build momentum and all of a sudden you get to those things that you had no solution for before. And all of a sudden they just kind of solve themselves, or you realize that you didn't even need to solve them at all. They were just not the thing that you needed to be focusing on. It's kind of like life. And doing something new is kind of like taking a test in high school. When you take it, just do the questions that you know first. Go through the whole test, answer the questions that you know first, and then after you get time, go back and then fill in, go line by, and then go through the ones that you didn't do, and then go question by question, taking more time, because chances are after going through all those other questions, you have more data points. Your brain has been more warmed up, And so to do anything different, it's like Marie Forleo. She's one of my favorite authors, and her book is amazing. I've referenced it before. It's called Everything is Figure-Outable. And it's absolutely true. So this is my last point on this whole purpose and dream thing, because if your life is anything less than a 10 in general, and it has to do with like this purpose or like this dream thing, because you keep putting something off or you keep pushing something away that keeps cropping up, chances are it's because you haven't taken steps to pursue it, because it's been daunting or intimidating, or you didn't know where to start or whatever. Just get in motion and just take those first steps of what to do. Don't set the bar so high. If the bar, unless, like, here's the trick. You need to set the bar for change so low that it's almost comical. And that's any change. That's whether it's like physical fitness, health, making any change in your life. If the bar is not laughably easy, it's too high. And that's supported by psychology. One of my favorite books on that is called Tiny Habits by B.J. Fogg. He's a Stanford professor on human behavior, and some of his students went on to develop a little company called Instagram. And they use those same principles there for engagement, to keep people connected, to keep people coming back, obviously. But the point is, start small. If you want to get in shape, don't start with like, I want to run a mile. I want to run 5 miles. Start with, can I do 1 push-up? Okay, I want to write a book. Okay, I'm going to start by saying, I want to write 1 sentence. I want to do a radio show or whatever. I can't wait to be on it, by the way, Christy. What's one thing I can do? If it's not like, if you don't laugh at how easy it is, it's too high of a bar. And then once you do that, set another equally low bar. And because the thing is, our brains are crazy. Our brains, oh man, they're crazy, because like you can have 100 people looking at the same thing and you get 100 different interpretations of what's actually happening. And you can get 5 people looking at the same task and 4 of them are like, oh, this is just overwhelming. This is too much. And then one person's like, no, this is nothing. And it's a lot of different reasons. But like, the joke is, are you an American or an Americant? A lot of times our attitude going into something is going to determine the outcome of that thing. For example, one of my favorite quotes is from Henry Ford. He says, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And that attitude that we take going into situations is going to determine that outcome. You walk into a situation saying, this is going to suck, this is going to be terrible, this is never going to work out. Well, how do you think your brain is going to operate? Like at its full capacity? No, not at all. So what you need to do is you have to have the belief and understanding and conviction that everything is figure-outable. You just start there. Just believe that you can. Believe that it can be done. Just start there. And then just set those bars very, 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 very low. Just like laughably low. And if you get discouraged thinking about that next thing that you should do about a project, the bar is too high. So it's way deeper than I thought I was going to get on the topic. But Christy, you mentioned that, and it's so many people are struggling with something that's been on their heart for so long, and it just keeps coming up, and then we keep pushing it away. Like same thing for me. I'm no exception. I've had the idea to do this since 2021 or 22. And what happened? I just never got around to it, right? That's mostly the case, is life happens. But sometimes it's like a technical thing, something we have to learn, a different relationship we have to cultivate, whatever. But if your life isn't a 10, if your happiness and your overall quality of life isn't a 10, chances are it's going to be because of what we talked about, relationships or purpose, dream, something that you keep putting down, something that you've wanted to do but you keep putting off. Another thing is your health. Your health is another thing that's going to keep you away from that 10. Like I'm getting out of a position where I've been in the worst shape of my life, right? And back in 2021, 22, back in 2020, 2021, 2022, I was running like a couple 100 miles a month, and I was in awesome shape, and then I had a back injury that brought all that to a screeching halt. And I tell you what, that back injury and like having to recover from that, like that was brutal. And when you're not physically healthy, when your body is just, you're carrying a bunch of excess weight, it plays such a huge part in your overall well-being, your overall happiness, and your quality of life. And so my point in this is that if your life isn't a 10 in happiness, and say it's like a 5 or a 4, whatever, it's only going to be a specific few couple of things that you have the ability and that you can work on to improve. And that's what I'm going through is this list. And I'll give you just an overview of that list. And I've shared a couple of them. It's going to be something like a sense of purpose. If you lack a sense of purpose, if you lack a sense of doing and fulfilling that thing that keeps popping up in your heart and your mind, like, oh, I'd like to do that. I would really, really like to do that. If you keep suppressing that, that is going to lower the quality of your life and happiness, right? Your relationships. If your relationships are really suffering or poor or stagnant or difficult or hard, that is going to take away from the quality of your overall happiness. Fortunately for all these things, there are ways that we can improve these. But the problem is that most people try to tackle all these problems at once and they feel overwhelmed. And the reason I'm breaking these up is because if you take each one of these areas of our life that are difficult and you identify that one thing and work on that one thing and then work on one thing at a time, it's going to make all the difference in the world. You try to change all the things that are going wrong in your life at once. Hello, depression. Hello, anxiety. Hello, hopelessness. Nobody wants that. Oh, Beto, great to see you, man. Oh, hey, thank you so much for the feedback. Guys, like, I love the feedback. The reason why I realized that I felt like I should do this so long ago is because I need the human interaction. When I'm just looking at a camera and I'm just talking to it, it's like so stale. I was just watching my old videos that I made like back in like 21 and 22. Cringy. Oh my gosh. And that's another thing to remember. When you do something new, there's going to be a learning curve. So give yourself grace. Like, we all know the story. I'm guessing Michael Jordan got cut from his sophomore basketball team. Like, he wasn't just a stud right out of the gate. Like, Walt Disney got fired so many times as a cartoonist before he became so prolific in the arena, right? So when we try to go and change something, there's going to be a learning curve, because guess what? There are 2 guarantees in life: change and humans' resistance to change. Okay? Change is not the easiest thing for any of us. It's difficult. The norm is what we're always trying to get back to. Comfort is what we're always trying to get back to. And the thing with change is it's hard because we have to do things differently. And so if you're here today and you thought to yourself, like, on a scale of 0 to 10, how happy am I? Well, what are you, like, to get to a 10, guess what? It's not going to magically change on its own. You have to change. And that's the whole point of this, is because when you feel empowered that you can do something, make choices, choose actions that will lead to a better outcome, guess what that is called? It's called hope. And guess what it's called when you feel overwhelmed and like nothing that you can do will affect the outcome? That's called hopelessness. And depression's right around the corner, and anxiety and difficulty in life, and just a really, really hard life. But what I want to do is I want to empower you guys to take a look at your life in the different areas that are the most important, because they're the same for all of us. I mean, things that aren't on here that could be are like oxygen, water, food. These are all extremely important, but I take these for granted. But after these things, these are the next most important things. We're talking relationships. We're talking purpose, desires for dreams to do certain things. And here are a couple other ones. What we do for work. Maybe work is really discouraging. You just don't feel like you have a purpose there. You don't feel appreciated. Well, then it's time to change. Well, guess what? Change is hard. And guess what? Change is even harder if you've kind of worked in your arena for a certain amount of time and you are earning a certain income, and then you want to change to something. Guess what? You have to start over. That's hard. Nobody wants to make less money, but how much is your happiness worth? Right? What else we got here? So relationships, health, and I'm talking mental, physical, and spiritual, because physical health is a really, really big deal. But how about your mental health? How about your emotional health? Because guys, here's the thing. each one of these things, when broken down into an individual category in life, you can look at it, learn from people who are really good at it, and do those same things that they do and improve in each of these qualities of life. It's the only way to grow. Or by necessity. But you don't have to wait till you absolutely have to change. You can be proactive and change ahead of time. But again, it's difficult. It's uncomfortable. Especially because it's not easy. Little kids are amazing. Like, can you imagine? I shared in one of my previous episodes. It's like, can you imagine seeing the kid who tried walking for his first time, tried it maybe 4 or 5 times and just, I'm not meant to walk. That's just not who I'm supposed to be. No, they get up and they walk over, they try over and over and over and over again. But the older we get, the harder that is to do because of pride. We like to be proficient at things because of frustration, of discomfort, of a myriad of other things, looking like a fool, whatever. And the thing is it's like, you gotta go through those steps to change. All right, Alex, what's up, man? Great to see you. Yeah. Yep. Dude, that's awesome. For some reason, okay, there it is. Absolutely. Made a change 2 years, was the hardest thing to do to try to convince myself to do, but man, I set a goal and I found myself achieving it. Something I always wanted to do, change, best thing I ever did. And Alex, that's so perfect. Dude, my sister just moved to Las Vegas. That's awesome. I love Vegas. I think it's a great city. I love that city so much. Hope you're enjoying yourself there. And I appreciate your comment because everything that we want in life starts with a desire and a goal. Think of your heroes, whoever they may be, whether it's somebody who climbs Mount Everest, or an awesome mentor, or an awesome coach, or whatever person you look up to. Think of them. Just hold that person in your mind. I'm thinking of an awesome mentor I had, and people who do incredible good for the world. Right? That didn't happen by accident. Okay, like. Not many good things happen by accident in life. It takes intention. It takes intentionality. And if you want your life to be happier, and better, it starts with an intention. But it starts with an awareness. It starts with a desire for things to get better. But then where do you go from there? It's identify the things that are deficient. And that's why I'm going through this little survey of like a happiness audit, cause if your life isn't a 10 out of 10 on the happiness scale, it can only be a couple of these things. And I mentioned some of them: relationships, sense of purpose, like dreams, what you do for work, relationships, health, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. Oh, finances. How about that? If your finances are not in order, that's going to make everything in your life difficult. Having a lot of money won't make all the difficulties go away. I promise that. But having problems in your finances puts a strain on everything. I joke when I teach young kids about finances. I'm like, okay, you need oxygen to live. Right behind oxygen is you need to take care of the money situation. Because when the money situation is not taken care of, like, everything sucks. When you're constantly living in financial struggle, paycheck to paycheck, like, your life has this underlying just dissonance, like this difficulty, this strain. And so the money situation is a really, really big deal. It really, really is. And I'm not preaching like I'm a guru on the topic. I'm talking any one of these areas, we can figure out ways to improve. So whether it's relationships are poor or difficult in your life, there are so many different things that you can do to develop the skills and tools to build bridges in those relationships. Hey, guess what? Newsflash. Not all of them are going to work. Not all of them are going to yield beneficial results and have people saying, oh my gosh, I realize that I love you. Some people are just really difficult to get along with, right? But to do what we can is our own obligation to our own sanity, happiness, contentment, and overall quality of life. And that's really what I want to do in these little broadcasts, is just to empower you to identify the things in your life that you can do to help equip and make your life happier. Because mental health was one of the driving factors of me starting this. And so much of life starts right there. It starts in our minds. How we look at things, our perspective on things. Do we have gratitude? Are we grateful for the things that we have? I appreciate you, Alex. You enjoy the rest of your time in Vegas, and I'll catch you on the flip, man. Great hearing from you. because it's not rocket science. People that are happy leave trails. They leave evidence. They leave clues for us to pick up on, to learn from. And like happiness is like one of my favorite topics. Like I've read so many books on happiness. It's funny. And like little simple things like gratitude, like just training yourself, like at your lowest point, when you're having a really difficult time, things aren't going well, remind yourself, there may be a time in my life where I look back at this moment right now and say, those were the times. That was such a good time in my life by comparison. But we lose sight of that in our pain, in our difficulty, in our, when life gets to be overwhelming and it just is like soul crushing. How easy is it to be grateful and maintain a posture of gratitude? It's not easy at all, right? But that's just one thing that we can do to be happier. Like developing a sense of understanding of relationships. Like I was saying, I just finally am reading, How to Win Friends and Influence People for the first time in my life. It's to take interest in other people. It's to connect with them on the things that they connect with. Don't always expect people to come to you. Sometimes they will, but go to them, find out what interests them, find out how you can connect, because human relationships in general, I'll say it till I die, the quality of our life is very clearly connected to the quality of our relationships. You cannot have $1 to your name, but if you have loving relationships around you, that's a beautiful life. And the opposite is also true. You can have all the money you ever need, but if the quality of relationships is terrible, you're not a happy camper. And so relationships, finances, purpose, dreams that are in your life that keep popping up that you keep pushing away, what we do for work, a sense of purpose, health, all these things contribute to the quality of our overall life, the quality of our happiness, the quality of every aspect of our being and existence. And if you can identify the areas of your life that are difficult, or there's friction, or that aren't going well, tackle them one at a time. Okay? I need to say that again for somebody. When you identify an area of your life that's not going well and that you can grow in and that has friction, tackle the problems one at a time. And identify them specifically and individually, because what most often happens is that people think my life sucks, and it's because 2 or 3 things are going very poorly, and then that causes that perspective to be lost. And all they focus is on the negative, whereas they got so many other things going right for them, myself included. It's like a muscle. Being grateful, having perspective, and living a happy life doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intentionality and desire, followed by corresponding goals and growth areas. And so I hope the one takeaway maybe at least one of the takeaways that you can carry from this is to be able to look at your life and say, okay, if my life isn't a 10 out of 10 on the happiness scale, why? What area specifically is holding me back? And then write that one area on the top of a piece of paper. Just write that one, and then flip it over. And then what other areas aren't going well for me? Write that second area that isn't going well for you on the top of that other piece of paper. Hey, you can have all these areas that are going very poorly for you. And guess what? If you can learn to identify them specifically and individually, and then work on them each one, like by itself, instead of like lumping them all together and feeling overwhelmed, you can make your life into whatever you want. And that's the beauty of this thing that God gave us called free will. That's the beauty of knowledge. That's the beauty of the experience of others. And that's the beauty, frankly, of YouTube and social media. Because like I said earlier, everything that we will ever want to do in our life has been done, unless we're trying to colonize Mars. And we can learn from the people who have done them. And whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's relationships, whether it's a sense of purpose, whether it's a career development or work, whether it's finances, whatever it is, there are people online out there that exist, that's my timer, for the explicit purpose of sharing their experiences, sharing their knowledge, and helping you to develop and improve those areas of your life. So I hope that helps. I hope this was worth your time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so humbled that you guys would tune in. Thank you so very, very much. I want to encourage you, no matter how your life is going right now, it doesn't have to always be like this. No, identify the areas of life that need growth that are having friction points, and then focus on those things one at a time. I promise they can get better. I promise you can be as happy as you want to be, all of us. Let's see here. There's a phrase in Spanish that says, buscave cobre y encontre oro. Thanks for the gold, encouragement, and advice. Oh, brother, that's awesome. Could you translate it in English? Because I can pronounce it, but I can't. I don't know what buscaba. Buscar, that's to look. Cobre, I don't know, cobre, and then you experience gold. I'm not sure what that one is. I'm working on my Spanish on Duolingo, but I appreciate you sharing that. Exactly. It's just, you got to start to look for it. You got to appreciate it. You got to have the intention, the desire, and the hope. You got to have the hope that things can change. I was looking for copper and found gold. Nice. So you're saying you tuned in looking for copper. You're like, see what this guy has to say. No, I'm just kidding. I love it. It starts with the search. It starts with the quest, right? We have to start by looking. Ask and, you'll ask and you shall receive, right? Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open for you. So love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this helps. I hope this is a blessing. If so, leave a comment, leave a thought. I appreciate everybody that has shared their thoughts so far. And, until the next time, take care. Stay encouraged. Bye bye.